So let's say we've been given f of x is equal to the absolute value of, let's say, x squared minus x minus 6. They've asked us to sketch such a function. So I can see that inside you have got a quadratic function, right? You've got a quadratic function. Now to be able to sketch a quadratic function, I need to find the turning point, isn't it? The turning point, and also the x-intercepts and the y-intercept. Now to be able to sketch this one, you follow all the procedures of sketching a quadratic function, okay? Firstly, let's complete the squares. Now, how do you complete the squares? Just make sure that the number in front of x squared is a positive 1. Positive 1, okay? And for this one, it's already a positive 1, so don't worry about it. So I'm just going to, since here we've been given f of x, I'm going to change this function. Let me write g of x. I remove the absolute bars, so it just becomes x squared minus x minus 6. I've written a quadratic because it was absolute value and I can't sketch direct. And then to complete the squares, since there's a 1 in front here, well and good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write x. Okay, this same x we're able to see here in brackets. And then this number, which the number in front of x. Now here I've not written x squared, I've just written x, okay? That's what you do. And then get the number in front. What's the number in front of x here, Sherry? What number is in front of x there? Shekaina? Negative 1. Find its half. So get the number in front of negative of the x, find its half. So the half of negative 1 is negative 1 over 2. Okay, I'll not write the x. I'll now close the brackets. I put a square. Please always subtract, okay? Always subtract, put a minus here. This same number that you are seeing inside here, square it. So 1 squared, it will be 1. In the denominator, 2 squared, it will be a 4. Okay? So this first part you are able to see here, this is the one that you are seeing down here. And then write the negative 6 at the end. So this is going to give you x minus 1 over 2 squared. And then if you add negative 1 over 4 minus 6, that is going to give you negative 25 over 4. Negative 25 over 4. Meaning that the turning point of this function, negative 25 over 4. So you add this, negative 1 over 4 minus 6. 6 is the same as over 1, right? Find the lowest common denominator, or multiply negative 1 times 1. That will give you negative 1. Multiply negative 6 times 4. That will give you negative 24. And then multiply the 1 by 4. That will give you a 4. Negative 1 minus 24 on top there. What's the answer? Yes. So meaning that the turning point for this function, you get, this is going to be the x value. Change the sign. It's negative, write a positive 1 over 2, comma, and then you write this, okay, negative 25 over 4. That's the y value. For the y value, don't change the sign. If it's positive, get it like that. If it's negative, get it like that. That's the turning point. Now the others we need to find are the x-intercepts. Now the x-intercepts is just a point where the graph is going to cut the x-axis. And that happens when y is 0. Okay, when y is 0. And this thing we are saying here is what we call y. So I'm going to put it to 0. So I'll say 0 is equal to x minus 1 over 2 squared minus 25 over 4. I'll take the 25 over 4 the other side of the equation. It becomes positive because it was negative. Now for me to do away with this square, I'm going to square root both sides. So the square root and the square will cancel. So remain with x minus 1 over 2. And that is going to be equal to, square root of 25 is a 5. And square root of a 4 is a 2. So it first give us positive, and then I'll say, or I'll again write this one the same way it is, like this side. X minus 1 over 2, that will be equal to negative 5 over 2. When you take a square root of a number, it will either be positive or negative. That's why I've written positive 5 over 2 or negative 5 over 2. But the first part here, just write it the same way it is. And then take the 1 over to the other side, so to give you x being equal to 5 over 2. It becomes plus 1 over 2, or x is equal to negative 5 over 2. And then take the 1 over 2 again, plus 1 over 2. So this will give us x being equal to, since the denominators are the same, just add on what is on top. 5 plus 1 is a 6, divided by 2, that will give you 3. Or x is going to be equal to negative 5 plus 1 is a negative 4, divided by 2, negative 2. So these are the x-intercepts. This happens when y is 0. So I've got 3, 0 and negative 2, 0. Okay, so we can sketch this function. You are supposed also to find the y-intercept. Y-intercept happens when x is 0. Now just this constant here you see is the y-intercept. If you put 0 here as x, even 0 here, you're going to find that y will just give you this constant, which is negative 6. So meaning that you're going to also have 0 comma negative 6. When x is 0, you're going to find y being equal to negative 6. So to sketch the function, so I'll start by sketching g of x, and then I'm going to sketch f of x. So g of x itself, the turning point, I'll first put the intercepts. We have got negative 2 and positive 3. Okay, so meaning that we are cutting this point and this point. And then the y-intercept, you can see that's a negative 6. That's a negative 6 is here. So where the graph is going to cut the y-axis. Okay, the turning point is here at 1 over 2. 1 over 2 is going to be somewhere here, comma, negative 25 over 4. Now you know that 4 goes into negative 25 6 times, remainder 1 over 4. So like negative 25 over 4 is the same as negative 6 1 over 4. So it's just a bit above 6, a bit, actually above negative 6, because this is negative. So this is where the turning point is going to be. So the function is supposed to go like this. It is supposed to go like that. It cuts this value here, and then it's supposed to come and cut the negative 6, and then it continues like that. It also cuts that value there. So this function I've drawn is g of x. At times they are going to ask you to draw these two functions on the same diagram. Okay, and then now I want absolute. Absolute means we don't want a negative part. So instead of you having a negative 6 as the y-intercept, it's going to be positive 6. Instead of you having negative 25 over 4 as the turning point, you are going to have positive 25 over 4. It will be there. So the function is going to be 10. This part that you are seeing down is going to be turned up. So it's going to go like that. Passes through there, and then it turns like this, and then it again goes up like that, and then also side it goes up like that. So this is f of x. So if they want you to just draw it alone, meaning that you drew in a pencil the first one, and then you rubbed it, here. You don't need that, because you just need the absolute. So this is positive 3, this is negative 2. So this is the function, the absolute value of x squared minus x minus 6.